Here we go with episode 1. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 1 of the podcast. I am Nate Cater, the founding CEO of PHOCIS Tech, and this is PHOCIS Tech Clearing the Future. Today, we're talking about the real engine behind every great lending business, which is people. Because tools change, market shifts, but the right relationships, those move the needles. And today's guest is one of those people. I have Justin, who's the founder of Above Par Capital, a group that's been quietly building serious traction in private lending through a mix of discipline, creativity, and strong partnerships. Justin, it's so great to have you on the first podcast. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. I really appreciate you having me out here, Nate. Very happy to be here, and it's gonna be a fun time.
The last time we saw each other was in Vegas, which was also a fun time. So it's so great to see you again in between those events. But let's start with the first thing that we wanted to discuss, which is relationships in this business. I wouldn't be anywhere without my relationships, and meaning you and your father and your family and everything you guys have built. Obviously, it's been it's been such a bump for my business and us taking off. So what do you see that moves the needle on your end in regards to relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I think real estate in general, right, is just such a relationship-driven industry. I think life in general is all about relationships and just building very good, genuine relationships. And on the business side, right, doing good business with good people. So when it comes to relationships, we're extremely, that's pretty much our mantra. We're very relationship driven. So as far as people have moved the needle for us, and me especially, is you mentioned him already, is my father. He's been in real estate and mortgages for 30 years now, and just being able to be under his wing, and who got me into the industry, of course, is just such a blessing, and one that is just a constant wealth of knowledge that I definitely wouldn't be here today without him. And then when it comes, to other relationships, yeah, I mean, there's just so many people, but he's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, he's a good guy. It's funny, just the simplicity of relationships. I remember going out to Vegas when we were there in, what was it, October? We were just there, and being a little bit nervous. Right, just being a little bit nervous to meet everybody again and get out there. And I remember just having the simplest thought, like, people do business with people they like. So just go, go be yourself and go make sure people like you. Anyways, I think we make things a little bit more difficult than they have to be. But let's also talk about tech, because PHOCIS Tech is a technology company. I've been building PHOCIS Tech to take a piece out of escrow, essentially. We're going to be an escrow alternative for the future of private lending. What type of technology are you guys using at Above Par? What do you and your family see working for you? What kind of secrets can you give to the rest of the industry?
Yeah, so I mean, with us, honestly, being as small as we are and still growing, we take it very seriously of what we're investing into, what we're spending our time into. So some of the tools that we've really liked, and this is from the very beginning, is we've used a tool called PropStream, which is great for just data verification. It takes a bunch of public records and it allows us to verify track records, property details, make sure it fits our box, what we're looking for, and then to even second that, really just another tool that is very similar, but something that's just great on the lending end, is FORCASA. That's a tool that we just got actually set up with a few months ago, and it's been incredible, just allowing us to really see so much data in just one screen, and be able to just find it so quickly, filter it, and look for the, like you said, right, with the people that we know, that we can build trust with, and just really do business with the right people. So for us, those are two tools that we really use. And then of course on the CRM end, we do have a great CRM that we just got set up with as well, and which is Mortgage Automator, and then still Salesforce for reporting. So that's, I would say, like, when it comes to like the magic hat of tricks that we use, those are 4 tools that we use very, very much on a daily basis, and I think has definitely allowed us to get to where we are, and then where we're looking to go, we feel very confident about.
I love that, and it's such a great segue into us going from relationships into tech. because tech shouldn't replace your relationships, which it sounds like it hasn't. It's, if anything, it's just made them that much stronger, where you're able to use that technology to continue to build and reinforce what you guys already have. So while we're on the topic of building, you built above par pretty steadily now without a lot of flash. You're not over leveraged. You're just consistently turning out loans deal by deal. Uh, how do you make the most out of what you already have instead of trying to find a perfect setup, if you will?
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's almost like kind of taking a step back from where we are, because the tools that I just mentioned outside of PropStream and Salesforce were tools that we just recently got. So we really made the most of things from the very beginning. When we opened up at the beginning of 2023, we were looking at public records, right? We utilized social media very heavily to the best of our ability, just public resources in general, and then also referrals, just making the most of those, existing relationships that are there. So before we even kind of took that leap, so the leap of what we were just talking about, that was a big step for us, because really we do keep things simple. We don't pretend to be the jack of all trades. We're very focused on what we do and the types of loans that we do. So I think just acting with intent is something we're very big on. So taking that step back, just really all of the information is there. There's tools that can make it easier to find, but in today's world, if you want to find something, it's probably out there, and it's probably more easily accessible than most would think.
I like that. You have to want to search for it. You have to be curious enough to find it. That's amazing. And since we are talking about money and finance and the loans that you guys are doing, we can look at just the market itself. And I have notes here that say runway, but what we're really discussing is just cash and leverage and value. And we can see that there's some dips in the dollar. I think they're suggesting anywhere between 5 to 10% annually is what we're averaging over the next couple of years. So anyways, everyone's talking about money and runway right now. How do you see that your company is going to either stretch that dollar or protect it? Essentially, keep growing even when the markets are going to shift and perhaps tighten up on you guys. So what's your focus, let's say, going into Q4? We're a little bit into it, about a month into Q4. What are you looking at to almost strategically align yourself or protect yourself to get out of 2025 and into 2026?
Yeah, no, great question. So for us, is we're very aggressive right now. So I think one of the things that we do is we try to align ourselves with the right people, like you said. So our existing bank line that we use, which is our primary bank, we have a phenomenal relationship with, and we're very, very confident about. And I think that kind of allows us to be able to take those steps and that aggressiveness. But of course, right, in life, it's all it does come to hedge betting and making sure that you don't have all your eggs in one basket, because you never know what can happen. So we do have other alignments that we're very confident about as well. So with us, we do move a lot of our notes, so we don't hold them all throughout the life of the loan. So that is something that I think right now, kind of with that uncertainty, right, is something that we kind of can use to our advantage. We keep doing what we're doing. We know where we want to be and what we're doing and how to do it. And then just really utilizing our resources and utilizing our existing relationships and just being able to navigate the territory that way, because it was definitely a lot harder. And when we first started in 2023, if you ask me, I feel like the hardest part's behind us. I think there's a lot of excitement, which I'm sure we'll get into in the future. But for me, it's a lot more sunshine than it was. So I guess maybe that's where the optimism's coming from.
Optimism is a good thing. I remember Mark Cuban said, the hardest thing you'll ever do in business is get your first client. And then the second hardest thing you'll do in business is get your second client, and so on and so on. So it makes sense that from 2023 to now, you guys have really started taking off, essentially. And that really brings us into the next segment, which is foundation. So the theme here seems to be relationships. And every different topic that I bring up, you tend to have a relationship that's built that would make it so that end of your lending process is that much more streamlined, which is really brilliant. So knowing that you have to have a solid foundation for that, you build something sustainable, which means there's a foundation under it. So what early habits or systems are still paying off for you guys today? Like, what did you guys start with that you guys are like, we're still doing this and it's still working?
Yeah. So I mean, for starters, I guess a small background is, so when I got into the industry about almost 6 years ago now, I started just as a processor. So all the way at just running the loans and understanding it. So at heart, like I really do, look at the paperwork, right? And look, it's still involved on every aspect, which I'm trying to work my way a little bit away from, but it's hard, when you're so wanting to be involved in something, which I think is a good thing, double-edged sword. So for me and for us, we're very, very process driven. Right? And even not just like automated process, but just making sure that we're doing things the way that they should be, right? And learning from every opportunity and saying like, okay, what went perfect here, what could be a little bit better here, and just really fine tuning that and crafting that. So when we were looking at it from the very beginning, it's like, okay, this is our loan process, this is how we're doing it, this is from the start to the finish, A to Z, and we're going to look at that and we're going to dissect every opportunity, whether the loan closed or whether it didn't get that far, whatever the situation is, we're going to basically analyze that. So for us is we keep it at a very I would say surface level, but just a very, very, we kind of pick it apart, dissect it and just see. So I think just looking at everything on an individual basis enables you to build something on a macro scale. So if that makes sense, that's how we look at it. So with our systems is we do keep it simple, as I'm sure by now it's kind of apparent in that way. But yeah, we just kind of do what we know. We understand loans, we know how to close loans, and we know how to, what's good about a package, what's not good about a package, getting ahead of those things, and just looking at it like that, I think on an individual micro level is something that we embrace rather than a full macro scale.
No, I love that answer. I've known you guys for a little while, so understanding that your foundational structure is really the simplicity in your process. It's your conveyor belt that you guys want to make sure every step of the process is going to be inspected correctly. I remember when I was in originally, we used to call it removing the nose. So you'd get rid of all the no's until you ended up with your final yes that would then make it so you could go to loan docs. And it sounds like you guys just have that foundation has always been in place, which you would need to start stacking on all the new tech and stuff that we were discussing before. I think it's brilliant. All right, now let's go into the part that most lenders don't like to talk about, the future of lending and technology. So let's close with, where do you see private lending headed, and how are you positioning above par to stay ahead?
Yeah, so I think really, I never like to be the guy with the crystal ball. And I feel like a lot of times it's all speculation, right? So like this question will probably be asked all the way, through on a lot of different levels. And for us is one thing that we're looking for is, I think the future, for starters, I think it's bright. I think that's something that, again, we kind of have navigated through. It's always, cyclical, but we've, navigated through, I think, the hard part. And everyone, says, rate drop, let's get the rates down. But really for us is we look at it from the buying box perspective. So our clients, if they're an investor, they're going to invest. So they're going to change their buying box. But that's one thing I think why maybe when we're looking at the future, it's all about positioning ourselves, right, from several different avenues. But the future is, I think one thing is I do see rates, going down, which really less on the actual front end of loans closing, right? Because of course activity can go up and we can go into all of that. We're watching the consumer activity. The sale, because you could have a beautiful product, you could have a beautiful house on the market, but right now a lot of houses are sitting longer than typical, or maybe getting back to typical, however you want to arbitrarily look at that. But for us, it's like if we can see increased consumer activity, that's going to free up more capital and just be able to rinse and repeat rather than doing refinances, extensions. So really, I mean, when it comes to the future, I know it's kind of a long-winded answer. I think in retrospect here, right, it's positive. I think that there's a lot more capital that's going to be infused. And I also think that it's going to be hopefully more active on the back end, which will allow this, ball or chain to continue to move in a positive direction. So I know there's just focusing on that. I think that's where our head's at least.
No, I love that. I think that you guys are prepared for the unknown, yet you're very aware that your current foundation and the current structure that you've built above par capital to be will sustain whatever the current storms might bring. And I think that that's what every lending shop should hope for, is that they have the wherewithal to be able to withstand a storm if it is coming on the horizon, but also understand that that shouldn't denigrate or change the way you're currently lending, as long as you're seeing your markets and your clients acting accordingly, right? So you're listening to your relationships again, is what it sounds like, and you're saying, if you guys are playing ball, we're playing ball.
It's so interesting too, because so when the market really kind of started to go down, we, basically I called about five of like our top people that we're very, very close with, and just said, like, what are your thoughts here? And really that's why I say buying box is, they're investors. They're going to invest. They're not going to stop. They're just going to go out and they're going to have to change what they're doing, what they're buying, right? Instead of doing, cosmetic fix and flips, it's now all about the value adds, or maybe it's just moving from fix and flips to new construction, which is a big pressing topic, and a whole conversation or episode of its own. But I think that really the consensus was, and I think that provided a lot of assurance for me, honestly, right? It's like, okay, rates are going up, this is going up, and it's like they're not stopping. So like when there's confidence there, there's confidence here, and I think vice versa too. So that's one thing that kind of sticks with me, and that I think that that's very valuable, to be able to hear that and just talk about it. And I think in today's world, rather than past, there's a lot more openness of sharing and just information, and really just like being transparent about, like, this is where I think we're at, and it's cool to see, and I think it's very exciting. But yeah, that's kind of where I think our confidence is doing what we do, and just really, really being intent with how we're doing it, is probably, I would say, a good reason for the large chunk of optimism. So
I think that it's all well deserved. I'm going to end it there on your optimistic note, Justin. So I just want to say thank you for coming on. Thank you for all that, not only you, but your family has done for PHOCIS Tech and for really the private money lending industry. You guys are part of the people that run the whole American Lending Conference. So giving us all a stage that we can stand on to say, hey, look how cool our product is really cool. So thank you guys for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you, Nate. Truly, it was, amazing being on here. Always fun to chat, and yeah, happy, very, very, blessed and happy to be able to be a part of this.
You're the best, brother. I really appreciate your time. Have a great weekend.
Yes, sir. You as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. That was so great.
I think we did well.
I think we did all right.
Yeah, not too bad. Good start. Good. Hopefully.